Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Spiritual Grind. We hope you enjoy it, and don't forget to follow, hit the little bell for your notifications when the podcast is posted, and follow, and share with your friends. We hope you enjoy it. Leave a comment if there's any topics that you want us to speak about.
Like, follow, share.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jenny. Hey guys, thanks for listening to part 1 of How Big Is Yours and Your Self-Worth Container. And this is now part 2, because this podcast is going to be deep, and we will have part 3, 4, and 5 of How Big Is Yours, because the containers have to be larger.
Yeah, this is like a double meat.
Yeah, double meat
cheeseburger.
Yeah, it's a juicy one.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for listening. Continue to tune in. And here is part 2 of How Big Is Yours?
Dumping it out and exploring what is actually in there, keeping what needs to stay or what you want to stay from a positive vibration, and replacing the negative things with more positive vibration of allowing and knowing that you deserve. It's your birthright. It's your spiritual right to have any and everything that you want or desire. You just got to line up with the vibrational frequency of it.
I agree.
And a lot of people are going to be like, okay, whatever.
So when the self-worth cup gets full from the societal top beliefs, and it shrinks as we believe them, it affects a lot of different parameters and other containers in our life. I believe
health, money.
Yeah, I have the whole list.
It's entangled with all of them, actually.
It is. Employment.
It's probably what I would say the core
container
place where everything else threads from.
Yes.
That's going to define what you're letting come into your reality as you create your reality. Because if your self-worth is low, then you're going to only let in mediocre job, mediocre relationships, yeah. Friend or romantic, mediocre amounts of money, mediocre wellness.
Depleted health.
It is entangled with every single aspect. And so that is the best place to start.
Yeah. And so what happens when our container's too small and our self-worth container is overrunning? We're in that deep spot. What do you suggest, Dr. Jenny? Where does somebody start to remove those from their container?
Well, again, everything is just self-awareness. Mm-hmm. Embracing the fact that there's got to be some legitimacy to what we're talking about. And if nothing else is working for you, why not try something different?
Yes.
Even if you don't believe completely or at all what we're doing, but you're at that bottom of the bucket, proverbial bottom of the bucket place, why not try something different and just see? And so again, if you're brand new at it, I always advise taking a writing device and a piece of paper or a journal or something and writing it down and getting clear about what is the definition of self-worth. Secondary, what is my definition of my self-worth, my value? How do I define myself as that? And dig around in that and say, what is my definition? How do I value myself, number one? What is my value? What makes me a valuable component in the world around me, in my own bubble, in society? Some people, they have to do, okay, well, I'm a da-da-da-da. I'm a degree holding nurse, and that is my value in society. I am a housekeeper, and I keep things clean and tidy, and that is my value. And so in the new steps of it, when you're new, sometimes it has to be just that simple.
Right. No, I totally agree. We are in our age group. It was normal to hear stuff like, "You're not going to amount to nothing."
Yeah, right.
I got told that.
Yeah.
I got told that.
I did.
You're never
well.
going to amount to nothing. You're not going to be any more than your parents were.
Yeah.
You're not going to be better than the previous person. And I'm not saying that anybody's bad in my life. I'm just saying that I was told that specifically.
Yeah.
And, it kind of falls back on that marquee that we read in one of our podcasts about nothing changes until you start. And when you can start identifying the thing that does not resonate with you the most, like my thing was, I've always been kind of a fast talker. And the one thing that really kept me in that negative vibration was my grandmother one time said to me, "You're such a fast talker that you can sell ice to Eskimos, but nobody's going to believe you do it. Your fast talking makes people uncomfortable and feel like that you're not trustworthy." And I took that on as real.
Yeah.
And so
very easy to do as a child or growing up because you look to your guardians as being the foremost authority.
And so the trust aspect in my self-worth was not there because I believed this and I didn't even trust myself. It just compounded.
Yeah.
Into nobody trusts me because I didn't trust myself. And that's the energy I put out.
That's right. Then that's the behavior, that's the action that you begin to put out. And the universe says, okay, here's another spoonful.
Yeah, and then your human starts actually fulfilling the prophecies.
That's right.
Yeah. To where nobody can trust you. Mm-hmm. And so it's just a cascading effect in your self-worth container. And that's what I would suggest to everybody is to find the one thing that you really just don't like about what you believe in yourself.
The burr under the saddle, so to speak, or the sticker.
Right. The number one permission slip on my Post-it note that I have on my mirror says, "I am trustworthy."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The very first one.
Yeah.
And, that's a great practice to try. The Post-it note permission slip that you put on your mirror and every day write a different one and keep adding to the list. Like I have the entire left side of my mirror almost filled with little blue Post-it notes. Yeah. And it reminds me of who I'm wanting to be and how I'm emptying my self-worth container.
It's not very easy to clean, by the way.
Yeah, I know. You don't clean it anyway. What are you talking about?
I would just suspect that it wouldn't be easy to clean.
Just suspect. That's where you start, I think, is find that one biggest burr in your saddle.
Yeah.
And start there. And as that one releases, read that
so how do you
permission
find
slip
that
every day. I really just thought I'm trying to remember back to when I discovered that's what it was. I was fulfilling prophecies of my own beliefs, human beliefs, wasn't spiritual beliefs. I believed that I wasn't a trustworthy person. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to be something different. And so I sat down and just got real with myself and realized that my trustworthiness, I didn't trust myself.
Right.
And so I had to change that and give myself permission to be trusted and trust others.
Right. Yeah. So for me, when I made my list, when I went in and I defined, okay, what is my definition of myself? There were some that I wrote down, and when I went back to read them, they stuck out like the proverbial sore thumb. I was like, ooh, I do not like that one.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
That really agitates me when I go back and read it. So let's start there.
Yeah.
Or, ooh, that one really makes me feel,
kind of do fall into place with this. When I realized that my self-worth was based around trust, and I released it and I started working on that better, making better decisions where I didn't fulfill the prophecy of the beliefs, it started exposing other things to me.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I was told I was slow. And then I had a math teacher named Velvet Ward, God bless her soul. I was in her math class and she said, "This kid is not a special needs kid. He does not need special education." And she sat down in front of the three people, the three board members or whoever it was that made the decision. And she said, "Watch this." And she gave me like 150 math problems that I had to complete in 20 minutes or less. And I had them done in like 12.
Yeah.
it started exposing those things where I remember those people saying I was special education. Then I couldn't be trusted. And so I went through my entire life trying to prove to everybody how good I am at math.
Right.
And so I gave myself permission to not have to prove myself to nobody.
Yeah.
I don't have to prove myself to anybody. They can all go kick a bucket somewhere because my bucket's going to be bigger.
Yeah.
And become more trustworthy, not have to prove myself.
Right.
I can be who I am.
So,
I can wear blue hair. I can have 19 million piercings. I can have tattoos everywhere. I can have plenty of money.
Can you paint your toenails?
I can paint my toenails. I can do anything I want. I don't have to prove myself to anybody.
That's right.
And when you can get to that point where you find that first burr in your saddle was what worked for me, it changed my life.
It will. And it will unravel layer by layer because your higher self knows where you're at as far as what you feel like you can handle without becoming overwhelmed or too much.
Yes.
And so it will show you one piece at a time if that's what you need. It'll show you 2, 10,
yes,
whatever it is that it knows that you can handle. He, she, it, whatever.
I think I remember.
And so it will come across as kind of a layer thing, kind of like an onion.
Yes.
And you'll hear the spiritual community refer to it as it comes off in layers.
Yeah.
Some of us are, G.I. Janes, and it's like, nope, give me the whole freaking onion. Let's do it. And
we take a big old bite of that.
we
onion.
lay in the bathroom floor on the tile,
with stones all over you.
yelling, help.
Wasabi.
I can't. Because we choose that route sometimes. And it's like, you can go whatever route that you want to go, but I think that's a good understanding. I want to dial it down simplistically just a little bit.
Yes, do it, please.
So, and do some steps for those that are, because I want all different levels to be able to resonate with the information that we give. And even though, we've been doing this for years, there may be some people tuning in that this is a brand new concept to them. And I don't want to leave them wondering, okay, well then what the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
What's the next step? And so I want to dial that down just a little bit. So once you are consciously aware that your self-value definition or whatever, and you've written that down and defined it, and you find that one that really is bugging you.
Yeah.
What do you do next? What are some of the techniques? What are some of the things that you can do next to, air quote, clear that out of the way or relieve yourself of that belief? And in the early days, what I would do is if I made a list like that, I would actually cross that belief or that statement out. It's a belief that you've taken on, and make one line through it. Don't scribble it because you want to see what the existing belief was. And then out beside it, write a new belief that replaces that. And in what I used to do, so in the morning when I woke up, I would remind myself of the belief that I let go of.
Yeah.
And the belief that's now replacing it in creating a habitual pattern.
Yeah.
And so that's how I had to do it in the beginning. I had to remind myself of, okay, what am I letting go of in case it tried to pop back up?
Yeah.
A belief is only a habit that we keep repeating. That's how it becomes a belief.
Experience, yes.
So whatever you physically, mentally, emotionally keep repeating will eventually become that belief.
Right.
So then you have to practice a new habit to replace the old belief.
Yeah. I remember.
And I would read that when I went to bed. Sometimes I would need to read it throughout the day to remind myself if it was a really tough one or really deep-seated. And that's how I did it.
Yeah, just one step at a time, one thing at a time.
Yeah. So when I was brand new in really looking at myself, I had to take one thing at a time and really kind of conceptualize it, digest it. I was still in that phase of, do I really even believe that this is going to work? But I'd gotten to that place in my human world where humanness wasn't working for me either. logic and that kind of stuff wasn't working. So that's why I said, what do you have to lose if you're in that place? Because I was there. I had kind of turned all of this awakened stuff that I once knew, I turned it off just because I couldn't figure out how to balance between the spiritual aspect of myself and the human aspect of, going to work every day and how am I going to pay all the bills and trying to raise the kids with the right ethics and values, and is this person happy, and making this person and doing the laundry and doing the dishes and feeding the kids and going to the grocery store and making a living. All of that inundated me and took me away from the things that I knew at one point were real.
Yeah.
And now they had kind of become, that's just imaginary crap. It doesn't work. I had covered all that up with all of this other stuff and forgot to remember that whatever I can dream about, whatever I can imagine is not only okay, but vibrationally, I can bring that into my reality. But I had to take baby steps because I was still very much in the scientific logic mind. Because I started nursing whenever I was 22. And so I cut my teeth, basically, my adult teeth, on science. Mm-hmm. And science can very much put you in that very logical, analytical space.
And so you're taking baby steps on your self-worth container?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Identifying how to clear the beliefs that pop up.
Because, man, you went off in a rabbit hole right there.
I didn't I? Thank God there's a leash on me.
You went down to writing and scribbling out your line all the way into your
Somebody needed to hear that somewhere, obviously.
Somebody obviously
because
needed to.
I went way down that rabbit hole for a minute. Thank God you got a leash on me.
I was like, where are we going with this? That's what I was thinking in my head. But, you're right. I think a true and concise and clear step-by-step process for you helping to clear your self-worth container, because this podcast of How Big Is Yours is going to turn into multiple podcasts because we have subjects on every container that we're going to have to do. But I think so we're going to stay on self-worth for today. And the self-worth container, I started with asking myself, why do I not feel good about myself?
Right.
And I had a friend of mine tell me one time, well, how do you not realize you're good? And he was talking about work because I helped him do something, and I got it done rapidly and very, good. And he said, when are you going to realize you're good? And he was talking about work, but to me, it hit that inner belief system of being trustworthy and
that pinging point.
Yeah, it definitely pinged my bell that day.
Yeah.
And so it made me stop, and I spent the next couple of days, my days off, and I was set with myself. Some people meditate. I like to work with my hands, and so I do my meditation when I'm doing something with my hands and thinking. When it rang my bell I know when Grandma told me that back then, I had to stop and change it.
Not to throw Grandma under the bus.
She is passed anyway, so we can't throw her under the bus. She's already under the bus, somewhere deep, like 6 feet.
And we're not saying by any means that our family members didn't have the best intentions for us.
No, totally not.
They're not bad people, or they raised us wrong or whatever. They did the best they could with what they had.
Well, yeah, that back then it was normal. That was normal stuff to say. Like we had one of our senior ladies tell us yesterday that she was picking cotton with the slaves.
Right.
And when slaves got released, she didn't. She had to continue to pick cotton.
Right.
And so she was like, how come I didn't get to go?
Yeah.
And so that was just how it was back then.
Right.
It's not so much, and I'm not saying accept it, but I'm saying that just realize it.
It's a good representation of how the operating systems in our mind is the computer, the beliefs, patterns, programs, they need to be updated. Mm-hmm. Constantly update and to the evolution and the growth of the individual. It's okay to update them. It doesn't mean that experience has to be cataloged as negative, and so I'm going to update it. It doesn't mean it has to say, I was raised bad and it's all my parents' fault, so I'm going to update this. Yeah. You don't have to give yourself permission to update a belief that just no longer fits anymore.
Right. No, I agree. And once you identify it, when you can sit with yourself quietly, or whatever your process is to find your value, you have to ask yourself, why do I allow people to judge me? Why do I allow people to make negative comments to me? Why do I allow all this in? And when you start realizing that you're allowing that in because your self-worth container is small
and filled with
negative stuff.
Negative.
And when you start pulling those out, they expose themselves. So step one is identifying that biggest burr in your saddle.
Yeah.
Write it down, whatever the process is. I use a Post-it note system on my mirror in my bathroom. You use a journal. Whatever your process is, identify that belief. And then next step is to get rid of that belief.
Right.
And a lot of people do it in different ways.
Yeah, there's many different ways. In previous podcasts, I talked about one of the ways I tried was writing it on a piece of paper and literally burning it.
Yeah.
Doing the whole cross it out on a piece of paper, rewrite it.
Yeah.
So that I'm kind of like rewriting history or rewriting my programming, my operating system. If you can do it in your mind without writing it down and just be able to remind yourself, okay, I'm not doing that anymore and I'm doing this. It can be that quick as you practice the process of rewriting a belief system. You can get to a place where you don't have to write it down anymore.
Right.
As you evolve into the process of changing beliefs. You can think about it, bring it up, rewrite it right quick, and then it's changed just that quick. It can be.
Yeah.
If you allow it to be that quick. Wad it up in a mental meditation and throw it over the cliff.
Yeah.
We did that for a while.
Through guided meditation. Or what I think would be a cool way of doing it nowadays. Yeah, these little artistic stones that people are placing all around the country that people are finding.
Yeah.
How cool would it be to put a negative belief on there that you had and throw that stone off in the river? Or, set it somewhere else, and if somebody wants to pick it up, they can.
Oh.
That's up to them. But it's still in their journey. It could be in their journey. You don't know. It could be a part of realization that somebody's cup needs to expand as well.
Maybe.
If somebody picks up a rock that says, I am not trustworthy, if they pick it up and they read it, that could be them owning that spot of, I'm not trustworthy. Why is this rock in my reality? And it could open their door.
Or why did this stand out to me? Or
why
whatever.
did it stand out for me? Because I used to do that in wishing wells. When I had negative stuff happen, I would take a piece of coin out of my pocket and I would imagine putting that belief on that coin, and I'd throw that thing off in the water and into the wishing well. I've done that as well.
I was going to say, so as I evolved into my practice, I take stones that can take those beliefs and give it to the stone.
Yeah.
Let the stone process it.
And then put the stone out in the moon.
Yeah. Like the selenite's a good one. Quartz is a good one. You can program it to anything. It runs our watches, for goodness sake.
I know, right?
You can have a stone that's programmed to just take the negative beliefs and you kind of dump those or download those into it and allow it to process them and take them away.
Yeah. So, there's two or three examples on how you can get rid of that belief after you've identified it. Now we've got to refill it. We got to expand that cup with a greater belief and greater energy and greater vibrational spot for expansion.
Yeah.
Like for me, I take my Post-it note, I put it on my mirror, and it says, I am trustworthy. And I read it every day. I am trustworthy. I am a trustworthy person. I am not going to allow that human taught belief back into my cup. That's a crucial part of allowing the cup to expand. And the more you do this with your beliefs, the more that cup will expand and the bigger it'll get.
Right.
You'll go from a 4-ounce cup to a 10-gallon bucket or whatever, for a visual example that you can put in your head. And you can do it pretty rapidly.
Yeah, I agree.
And so now we figured out how to do it in a step-by-step process. We have to realize that the self-worth container reflects upon the other containers that we're going to touch upon in probably the next podcast.
I just want to bring this back around as well. Just reminding everybody, what's the gauge on this? Mm-hmm. In the car, if you're low on fuel, you've got your F marker and your E marker, and that's what tells you, oh, I'm getting low on fuel. So on beliefs, patterns, and programs, the ultimate gauge or the ultimate goal is to find a feel better place in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the frequency that you want to put out.
Agreed.
So if it still is creating this still doesn't make me feel good when I think about it, then there is still some polishing up or some tweaking to do on that.
Yeah.
For me, I asked the question of my spiritual counsel of, okay, what more is there for me to see? And then I just wait kind of for the answer. Not kind of, I wait for the answer. And sometimes the information will pop up through, I'll see a book in a store. And I've talked about this before. Or I like to get on YouTube and see what the noise is on YouTube videos or whatever. And a video will pop up and I'll be like, oh, that kind of dings a bell somewhere. Let me listen to this one. And in that will stand out very clearly some aspect of the question that I asked in an informative way. So it can come, the information can come in so many different ways. I'll pass somebody, like this happens to James and I a lot.
All the time. I was just thinking about that, where somebody walks up to us.
And we're just doing our thing. And some random person will walk up and say something. And it'll be, I literally will hear a ping in my head. And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, Spirit. That's what I needed. Or like the other day when you saw the billboard. Yeah. It was like that proverbial ping.
Or that guy that walked up to us at the Home Depot parking lot. Yeah. He just walked up and said, you guys are beautiful. And then walked off.
It's just random.
Just random, out of the blue.
And so the information definitely can come from so many different places. It's just allowing yourself to understand that it doesn't have to come from a voice in your head, right, or it doesn't have to come from a specific place or a specific book. The answers are going to come from all around. That's what keeps
pay attention to your environment.
Yeah, that's what keeps the interest going. And whether we want to understand it or believe it or acknowledge it, we like the mystery of it. Mm-hmm. That's why we came here and are doing this partially, is that we like the mystery of it. We like the miraculousness of it. Yeah. And so opening up and embracing that again from a child's mind of, ooh, this means I'm getting closer. Right. Ooh, this means I'm colder, hotter. Play games. Like,
I get whatever it. Makes you childlike with it.
Right. But the ultimate goal is getting yourself to a place of really feeling better about it.
Open the positive energy and let your vibration expand.
And ask yourself, do I feel better about it? Mm-hmm. Am I putting that feel better frequency out there? Because sometimes that can be disguised.
Right. I agree.
Like this morning's conversation between you and I didn't even realize that the topic of selling a couple of houses was disguised. I thought that selling them was actually the place of feeling better, but it was still disguised as, I just want to sell them and be done with them because I'm tired of it feeling crappy. And so ultimately I was still focused in on, I don't want them anymore. Right. And that was the energy I was putting out, because if you're focused on what you don't want, you're going to get more of what you don't want.
Correct.
And I subconsciously was still doing that. I didn't realize it.
And it doesn't release energy.
Yeah.
But I think we have a pretty good parameter set for your self-worth container and how to expand it. No, we want everybody out there to know that your self-worth, we think you're valuable. Jenny and I know that there's not a human on this earth that doesn't have value.
Yeah, everybody's part of the
beautiful.
Puzzle.
Y'all continue to live who you are inside of you. Be that person. Yeah. I hear it all the time. I say I hear it all the time. We have a lady that comes around our employment all the time, and one of the other people that are here was making a comment about her hair color because she likes to wear blue hair or even green hair. I've seen her with pink hair. And don't allow that negative vibrational energy into you. I don't care what your hair color is. I don't care what your eye color is. I don't care any of that, because you are valuable. You are a valuable person. And if you'll go through these steps, you'll believe it too.
Yep.
Anyway, do you have anything else to add before we close this one out?
Every one of you are valuable, and you're a key component to the whole big picture of this multiverse.
Yeah.
You were designed to play a part in every aspect of it. Because what did they used to say? God don't make no junk.
God don't make no junk. Well, we appreciate you guys today, and thank you for tuning in. This is part 1 of How Big Is Yours? And this one specifically is on your self-worth container.
Yeah, this was thick and meaty, man.
Yeah, well, we've got a few more. We will touch on abundance or money. We'll talk on emotions. We'll talk on relationships more with your containers, and obviously employment. Yeah. You know, because a lot of people value themselves through their employment.
Yeah.
Which is, we need to touch on that.
And I would say if there's other techniques that people are using that we didn't mention, you definitely can pop them in on a message to us, and we'll share them on here.
Yeah.
There's so many out there.
Yeah.
And any other topics that you want to discuss, please let us know. We'll talk about anything.
Yes, we will. We appreciate y'all listening, and stay tuned for more of How Big Is Yours?
Like, subscribe, share.
Hit that little bell.
Bing.
Because, you know, that's how we clear things. Ding. And it'll give you the notifications when we post. We appreciate y'all. Love you.
Peace